Let me begin this by playing you the announcement audio of Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, a very short time ago.
The independent investigation has concluded that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women and in doing so violated federal and state law. Specifically, the investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature that created a hostile work environment for women. The investigators independently corroborated and substantiated these facts through interviews and evidence, including contemporaneous notes and communications. This evidence will be made available to the public along with the report.
That is Letitia James. She is the Attorney General for the state of New York who has been investigating Cuomo. Now, you need to understand some of the side angling here because it's going to come out. Cuomo is progressive. Letitia James and the New York Democrats are further to the left than Cuomo. And they have increasingly seen Cuomo as an obstacle to their progressive reforms in New York, turning New York even more like California. And so they've been trying to find a way to get him. And Cuomo couldn't help himself and has dug his own grave, it appears. There are enough New York Democrats who want to get rid of him now in the legislature to move New York further left. The thing that's been saving Cuomo has been a lot of Republicans. Well, the Republicans in New York, they're not going to stick up for Andrew Cuomo with these allegations. They are bad, bad, bad news. He engaged in unwanted and inappropriate groping, kissing, hugging, and comments that accusers call deeply humiliating, uncomfortable, offensive, or inappropriate. Governor Cuomo and his senior staff took actions to retaliate against at least one former employee for coming forward with her story. And according to the report, this is a direct quote, Governor Cuomo and the executive chamber fostered a toxic workplace that enabled harassment to occur and created a hostile work environment. Bad news for Cuomo. He, on more than one occasion, essentially forced himself on women in the office. At one point, he stands accused in this report of harassing a state trooper, patting the state trooper on her backside. Cuomo denies these things. You should know he denies these things. But the report is, put it to you this way, based on conversations with 179 individuals and a review of 74,000 pieces of evidence. According to the report, it paints a deeply disturbing yet clear picture. They call his conduct unlawful, high crimes and misdemeanors, remember that standard. A footnote says the report was not reaching a conclusion as to whether the conduct amounts to or should be subject to criminal prosecution. It is clearly setting the stage for an impeachment fight against Andrew Cuomo. Now I'm reading a report here from CNN summarizing some of this. The investigation into the sexual harassment claims is one of several the state attorney general's office has launched into Cuomo and his inner circle as a political firestorm has raged around him. In January, James unveiled a report of her review of how the administration handled nursing home deaths during the COVID-19 outbreak and found the administration undercounted by 50%. And now there's this investigation, and Cuomo has denied touching anyone. Cuomo was questioned by investigators for over 11 hours last month. The allegations against Cuomo ramped up earlier this year when in February, a former aide took her account of uncomfortable interactions with the governor to the New York Times. That aide, Charlotte Bennett, alleged that Cuomo had asked her questions about her sex life during a June 2020 conversation in his office. She told the newspaper she interpreted Cuomo's comments to be clear overtures to a sexual relationship. Another ex-aide, Lindsay Boylan, came forward with allegations against Cuomo of her own, claiming in February he engaged in inappropriate gestures, including an unwanted kiss. Cuomo's behavior was not limited to members of his own staff, but extended to other state employees, including a state trooper on Cuomo's protective detail, as well as members of the public. Members of the public. Wow. This is where we are now. I have a segue question here. We'll see how New York shakes this out. We will see what the media does with this. Just ask yourself, if this were Ron DeSantis, what would the media do? If this were Donald Trump, what would the media do? We can presume they will act differently than this, but I don't know that they're going to be able to, considering the report comes from a Democratic attorney general whose career is on the rise, who is black, who is female, who the media loves. They can't go dismissing, in the era of Boko Haram, they can't go dismissing a black female attorney general. And by the way, her report is copiously documented with tens of thousands of pieces of evidence and hundreds of interviews. He's guilty until proven innocent, but the report is pretty damning. Will he resign? It'll be interesting to see if he hangs around and if they impeach him. And again, part of the standard here Democrats have to deal with is this fact that Donald Trump was impeached for his pressure, allegedly, about Ukraine, in addition to his statements made that the Democrats believe caused people to storm into the U.S. Capitol. Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed dozens and dozens of people doing inappropriate things, including patting a female state trooper on her rear end, among other things. This is a deeply troubling situation. The media and the Democrats that were screaming about Donald Trump and Donald Trump's behavior and Donald Trump's attitudes toward women, the question is going to be, do they stand up against Andrew Cuomo? The fact of the matter is, at this point, Cuomo's days are numbered. He may be able to hang around like, what's his name in Virginia, Ralph Northam, after the Klan photo. And it's going to be interesting to see if the media kind of lets him go. Now, CNN calls the New York Attorney General report about Chris Cuomo's brother damning and devastating, and adds the state legislature hasn't shown signs it would impeach or remove him, so it'll be up to the voters. But the question is, what does CNN do about Chris Cuomo? Because one of the things that has come out in all of this is that Chris Cuomo, who is an anchor on CNN, who glad-handed his brother and built up his brother's image, built up his brother's profile, made his brother into something, he helped advise his brother. Can you imagine what Oliver Darcy and Brian Selter would do if Chris Cuomo were on Fox News and had done this? Can you imagine what CNN itself would do if they worked for Fox News? But Chris Cuomo works for CNN. And now CNN is calling this report devastating and deeply troubling. And Chris Cuomo was complicit in helping his brother. Why does Chris Cuomo still have a job at CNN? Why are they defending Chris Cuomo? And how will Chris Cuomo handle this news? I assume Chris Cuomo will not talk about it. But then there's something else here. We have 179 people interviewed and tens of thousands of pieces of evidence reviewed. We have lots of women who came forward and said that Andrew Cuomo harassed them. We have eyewitnesses in real time going back just months. Think of the media spectacle of Brett Kavanaugh. Think how they handled Brett Kavanaugh. The character assassination of Brett Kavanaugh when Christine Blasey Ford couldn't provide even eyewitnesses. She couldn't provide key details. She couldn't even remember the particulars. And she said it happened a long time ago, but she didn't have anybody come out and support her. In fact, the people she said would come out and support her came out and said, nope. And yet the media was ready to railroad Brett Kavanaugh. What will they do with Andrew Cuomo? This is the man who they refer to as the governor of the year. This is the man the media loved. This is the man the media defended. This is the man that the media circled wagons around. This is the man who said he had done nothing wrong. He had done everything possible to protect senior citizens, and the Attorney General of New York came out and said he lied about that. Understated deaths 50%, of the media gave him a pass on that. Will they give him a pass on this? They're starting to turn on him, it appears. They're starting to turn on him. On MSNBC, they're beginning to savage him right now. But will he hang on? Will they impeach him? They need to shut up about Trump if they don't. They need to shut up about Trump. If they don't, they're hypocrites. Or, they can claim to take the high ground and they can turn on Andrew Cuomo and make him the fall guy in order for them to hold their head up high. According to the Attorney General in New York, senior staff within the executive chamber engaged in a series of retaliatory actions. In fact, they went so far as to prepare a proposed op-ed originally drafted by the governor himself that contained personal and professional attacks on Ms. Boylan, one of the people who accused him of inappropriate behavior. Here is John King on CNN.
Erica, what was striking about this is as the Attorney General and the two independent lawyers she hired to look into this laid it out, they were methodical, they were detailed, and a lot of those details were frankly horrific.
Yeah, they were. And they were detailing, we learned a lot about a person referred to as Executive Assistant Number 1, and also a state trooper who was on the governor's security detail and experiences which she laid out as part of this investigation. And Ann Clark, one of those independent investigators, talking through that experience, laying out with this state trooper, told them, take a listen.
The governor also several times inappropriately touched a state trooper assigned to the unit to protect the governor. In an elevator, while standing behind the trooper, he ran his finger from her neck down her spine and said, "Hey, you." Another time, she was standing holding the door open for the governor. As he passed, he took his open hand and ran it across her stomach from her belly button to the hip where she keeps her gun. She told us that she felt completely violated to have the governor touch her, as she put it, between her chest and her privates.
And this was just one example, the examples, rather, I should say, because more than one there, from one of the 11 complainants. So now we know there are 11, 9 of them current or former state employees. And again, as both Ann Clark and June Kill were laying out what they learned in this investigation, they talked about multiple times how this was part of a pattern.
Part of a pattern. That's Andrew Cuomo, the man the media used to contrast with Donald Trump last year. That's the man the media said was better than Donald Trump. That's the man the media highlighted as the best governor in America. That's what he was doing. This just happened in the last 3 minutes. Speaker Carl Heastie, the Speaker of the House of the New York General Assembly, we have received the Attorney General's 168-page report containing findings of sexual harassment and misconduct committed by Governor Cuomo. The findings contained in the report are disturbing. The details provided by the victims are gut-wrenching. Our hearts go out to all the individuals who have had to endure this horrible experience. The conduct by the governor outlined in this report would indicate someone who is not fit for office. The report has been forwarded to the members of the Judiciary Committee, as well as all members of the Assembly. We are now undertaking an in-depth examination of the report and its corresponding exhibits with our Assembly counsels, as well as the legal firm we have retained to assist us. We will have more to say in the very near future. Sounds like impeachment is afoot if he does not resign. Will Chris Cuomo, his brother, who helped him do damage control, maintain his job at CNN? That's the next question.